Hello and welcome back to Reassembly. This is episode 7 and I'm Spirit Balance Holder, your host for this episode. So, last time we left off with our 7000p ship, which I reckon is basically the epitome of what you can build with the Tinkrell. I did make a small upgrade, which I will be showing off in a moment. Um, it's really just a very minor upgrade to the design. It basically is still exactly the same ship, but it has slight upgrade to its cannons. That's all there is to it. But I promised that I would hold a small little tournament of sorts, and that I would be showing off some additional designs for our ships. So I started building a few ships, as you have seen, and I have made one that I've talked about before that is really not suited for the Tinkrell, but I wanted to show it off because I've mentioned them before and they are just very fun to see spinning around. And those are the spinners. Well, it's not hard to guess why they're called that. Uh, because they just are forced to spin a lot. All the thrusters are pointed in the same direction basically, which is in this case clockwise, and that basically means that this ship will spin clockwise one way or another. What that means is, or what you would expect, that it would only go clockwise, it would only spin. But because of the way that Reassembly manages his thrusters, it actually makes it so that the thrusters are activated accordingly depending on which direction you're aiming at. So it makes sure that despite constantly spinning, you will always get the thrusters activated that go in the direction you want to go in, and thus you can still move around. It's actually very neat. It's just a little bit more floaty because obviously you have only a fraction of the thruster power you would otherwise have to actually change direction. Though that's probably where the spinners are weakest at changing directions. But they have some very unique features. And because of the design um of a spinner ship, making a ship that is suitable for the Tinkrell is very hard. But I tried regardless, and I've tested it, and it really is a mess. But I wanted to show it off, so here we go. Um, I approached some bees here, and we'll see just what we can do against them. All right? Well, there we go. Basically, this is all we can do. We can't direct the shots, we can't even properly aim or anything. Uh, really, the best we can do is to just keep firing and hope that we hit the right targets. You also notice that our shots are now propelled forward with a ridiculous amount of force compared to where we would otherwise have to upgrade our ship to actually get such speeds and distance. Uh, the speed of the ship itself basically forces the shots themselves as well to reach much further than they would otherwise be able to at a much faster rate. So it does have some significant advantages in regards to saving you a lot of upgrades. So I was able to focus more on damage, but despite that, even with the additional damage upgrades, you're talking here about a ship that can't properly aim, and despite having the ability to destroy stuff with it, one by itself, is not going to do much. Luckily, however, for this tournament, they only have about 1200p, which means we'll be able to add more. Because we're going to hold a tournament and we're going to try and round down the levels of P, the levels of power, around the same level. I probably won't be able to level it out perfectly, but we're gonna try to level it out a bit and see which ship design is best suited. Now, we don't have a lot of ships yet. We have a couple of them, but it's not a whole ton of them. So that will affect the way we will launch our tournament. But let's go over to that tournament window now. Save our game first, because you can't quit without saving. Wouldn't want to either. And we go over to tournament. And we will see here that we have our account, our save slot saved over here. And here are all our designs, including the one we used, including the ones we had in our build queue, and the ones we simply had in our fleet design library. So let's start and see if we can make a nice tournament. So this shows that you have one ship of sprayer. This is actually specifically all the kinds of ships that are in there. You can also add other ships to that and it will stay the same, but you will notice the P level changing. It will show that there are two ships, and basically we're going to try and be as much as possible a purist about it, which means every squad, every contestant will only have one type of ship in it. So if we would, for example, add the Harbinger 2.0, which basically has that small little upgrade, we would see that we can actually put up, well, up 6 or 7, depending. I think 6 is a little bit more suited. We can actually pull 6 sprayer ships against one Harbinger 2.0. And that's quite significant. That means that it's now a battle of 6 versus 1. And that will hopefully, depending on the design obviously, even out the odds. Now, since that our ships are relatively expensive, they are all middle class to higher class levels, except for the sprayer. So I think we should double the amount the Harbingers, and that means that we will get a lot of sprayer ships as well. Now it's 12 versus 2. And that means that we can add the normal Harbinger, and this one won't round down properly. So I'll think about what I'll do with that one in a moment. But let's for now try and add all our designs into this in a way that'll do even out around 15. That should make for a relatively evenly balanced fight. 16. I think for the Hailstorm, it's really hard to say. Again, I'm going to think about it in a moment. We'll add the Melter ships. And basically all the other designs as well, I reckon. Not much reason not to. This will be a fun one. 15 swarm spawners. Now if you remember correctly, these are drone spawners, so this will be quite a mess when those come into town. Trident. The normal harvester we already had. We have the commander. We have the frontal blaster. We have the focus fire. Or 25, 24 is more fair. These top ones we already added, and the assault and the scout. I don't think these are the standard designs. Those aren't made by us per se, so I guess we'll leave them out for this one. There are two ways you can start a tournament. And that's by pool mode or by bracket mode, and both will be very easy to understand. I'll show you bracket mode first. Everybody will get that one. You get a schedule like this, and once the timer counts down, you actually go into the combat into an AI controlling one contestant and another AI controlling the other contestant, and those will just start battling it out. So for the tournaments, it's all AI based. Basically, you're just a spectator, but you do get the chance to see them all in action, and you do get to see the chance to see what the AI can do with them. The other mode we can use is pool, and pool that is quite a spider web, as you can see. but it is more thorough because brackets basically is a knockout situation, whereas pool actually pits every ship against every other ship. Every contestant gets to fight the other contestants. So the result of a pool will be much more honest, much more correct, but obviously will also take much more time. So for this one, I reckon we should use brackets. And I think that to even out the other ships, I think I'll actually use these small guys for those, because we already know that they're not made by us, but we can use them simply to even out the odds. That way we'll have about all 15. It's within reach of 1000 P, so that's not very significant. So I say let's start the tournament, because I think we all can agree that this will be alright. I'll tell you about the ship designs as we enter combat. So first one up is the Sprayer versus the Harbinger 2.0. Hoo-hoo. Here we go. So Harbinger 2.0, even more powerful cannons that make very quick work of these sprayers. The AI is not great with front-mounted cannons, as I have said repeatedly, but when they do get around and aim properly, boy will they fire, and with the power behind those cannons, not much will stand in their path. So the Harbinger 2.0 is a clear victor. You can see that the ships themselves are relatively the Harbinger 2.0 is relatively the equal of the normal Harbinger, but it has the addition of being having a few more damage upgrades, having more power supply, and a few more solar panels, which means that they will also function much more better as a mothership, because basically that's what they are now. Here we go. These are the hailstorms versus the melters. The melters don't need much explanation, I reckon, because they are already causing mayhem everywhere. And they've already won. These guys have only got lasers and they automatically fire. There's really not much else to them. I'm actually somewhat surprised that the hailstorm is acting the way it does, because the hailstorm is mostly built as a sniper ship, really. It uses drones, rocket drones, in fact, the stronger drones, and would supposedly cause chaos with them, but this time around it isn't really working out, seems. There we have the Tridents versus the frontal blasters. We have already seen these ships being built and how they were designed. So which is the most efficient? Which uses its power in the most resourceful manner? We'll see that. The camera is mostly automated, I will say too, so unless there's a specific situation, I won't take control of it. Generally it works pretty well. And so you can see that the Tridents are, at least the first round around, the strongest, most efficient design, and I think that it'll stay that way. The points you see counting on each side, those are the points that the contestants collect by causing damage on the opponents, and should the time run out, the points will decide who has won. Probably you could have already guessed that, but I thought I'd say it anyway. Here we get the melter. Oh dear, the melter ship. One of those melter ship already destroyed the Harbinger. So you can see that those lasers do pack a punch. I mean, they destroyed the Harbinger 2.0 in no time flat once they got close. But you can also see that the Harbingers have so much power behind those cannons that unless they get blindsided, as he is now, he probably will win. Oh dear, oh dear, ooh. There we go. There you see, the second round around, or yeah, the second round around the melters one. So you do see that if situations change, so will the way the AI response change as well. So it's quite alright, but at the same time, doesn't always make it the smartest. Alright, the Harbinger, the normal Harbinger against the Commanders. Oh dear. That goes quick. That is very quickly. That was ended. Yep, it's really not a battle. The Harbingers are clearly the better design. And now the Death Ray. Ooh, I'm excited for the Death Ray because the Death Ray I have designed to be very maneuverable and choosing specifically only one cannon. Now, these will get swarmed very easily, so I think the Death Rays will lose, but regardless, the Death Ray design, the amount of power behind those cannons, the range on these cannons, they are very powerful. But that's what I mean. You see now that they get swarmed so easily, and I think that theoretically they didn't have to be. I think that if the AI would have steered them better, that the that they could actually prevent this loss, because they shouldn't run in, for example. That's clear. If you are a sniper class ship, you shouldn't run in like that, and yet that's what the AI decides to do. But despite that, when they get actually when they actually properly aim at the enemies, when they actually make a nice strafing run or so, that's when you see that there is significant power behind those shots that basically can eradicate the entire fleet. There you go. Come on. Just one more. There you go. And this time the Death Ray won. Again, a better situation, a better outcome for the Death Ray. Our little focus fire ships that we used at episode 2, I believe it was. Yeah. They really don't stand a chance. At least not by themselves. When they actually are able to swarm, boy will they. And here we go, the swarm spawner. The great chaos is going to emerge against the Trident. And here you see, now the AI is properly using their drones. Now you see how they move away instead of towards. And you see clearly that the ridiculous swarm that is the drones, they start chewing away at those Tridents. They actually reach the edge of the map, because the edge of the map is basically just a single sector which makes sure that it's easier to run and easier to prevent this kind of chaos. Easier to prevent lag and that kind of stuff. But you can see that we now actually are split up into two different factions, two different groups, which are trying to fight it out. And I think this one will come down to the points actually. The swarm spawners are collecting points very rapidly compared to the Tridents. But the Tridents are clearly the stronger ships. They are clearly the ones that are more suited for the destruction. But simply because the swarm spawners keep firing with all those little drones and keep collecting points in that way, they might actually win if they survive for long enough. Ooh, which they might not actually. Oh, they did not indeed. But if they would have survived a bit longer, the timer would have run out, and that would have meant that the Tridents would have won clearly, or the Swarm Spawners would have won clearly, because they simply collect so much more points. And I reckon actually that in the end they would be able to destroy the Tridents, but only if they are not inhibited like they are now. If they are able to move freely and avoid obstacles that would come around, they would be able to go and run forever basically, and just keep spawning those drones until the Tridents are destroyed. Oh, a nice hailstorm coming from the side. One of the Tridents is actually destroyed. That is very interesting. Like I said, in the end those drones will start to overpower simply by force of numbers. And that is why these different designs can have very interesting outcomes. You also clearly notice that because of the tridents, because the tridents have those lasers, they are able to destroy the drones that are attacking them sometimes, and that will limit the damage that the swarm spawners can inflict. Oh yes, that is one of the biggest issues when you fight against when you are a drone ship, the laser defenses, the automated defenses of the enemy ship. Because those things just keep firing at everything that comes near, be it drone, rocket, or otherwise. So, time is going to run out, but will they get the final... Ooh, this swarm spawner might actually survive. Will it? Yes, the swarm spawners won this round simply because they collected more points. Now we actually get another round. I'm somewhat curious, but I am going to speed this up for this one because otherwise we'll be watching the same fight over and over again for much too often. So 2 times, let's do 4 times. The camera will glitch a little sometimes, but at least it won't take as long. And you can see that the swarm spawners are already collecting massive amount of points again. The tridents are still trying to destroy them. Actually, the tridents are having more points right now. I think the tridents will clearly win this one. Yep, he gets forced into a corner and destroyed. There we go. So the tridents were victorious that time around. And here is a funny one. The Harbingers versus the Harbingers 2.0. So there's 2 Harbingers versus 2 Harbingers 2.0. Oh dear. With those little ships as support. I would like to say that that clearly shows that the Harbinger original design is better. But actually it just means that... Actually, it just means that the Harbingers, the normal Harbingers, got a better advantage. They simply got a better angle on it. Again, the situations change and such also do the ways the AI respond. And thus they can actually get an edge where they would otherwise be equal. Death Ray really made short work of those. Tridents really don't stand a chance against these sniper ships. And that's why I designed them this way, because I was really curious if this single cannon design would work, and boy does it. And now the final battle. The normal Harbingers versus the Death Rays. Alright. You can already see. Death Rays do have an edge. They do have an edge. Oh dear, that was devastating. Yep. Alright, so that concludes it. If Death Rays win again this round, then, which I'm quite certain they will, yep. Death Rays are the strongest design we currently have, at least for the way they fought. We can do another try. We can do another queue for this. See what would happen if the tournament would be divided differently. But I don't know if it would make a real big difference. I do wish that the sprayers would have a different opponent because they were eradicated way too quickly. So I am going to do one more show for the sprayers because I'm really curious what they look like en masse and actually trying to be effective actually in the situations that they could win. So I think we should put them against the Hailstorm because the Hailstorm also didn't get much show. That will basically the 2 biggest losers of this fight will now have a last row over who is the biggest loser. Alright. Hailstorm versus the Sprayers. Let's see what happens. Now you can see the rocket drones, and now you can see, oh dear, the chaos that the spinner ship causes. Actually, the sprayers win this. Dear. And that's why I was disappointed with their opponents, because I knew that they would be able to win something at least, but oh dear. Hailstorms really get eradicated. There's the last ship right there, and it's gone. Oh yes. Clearly the sprayers are the victors of this one. So the sprayers are the smallest loser of the two losers. uh, anyway, as promised, this was the tournament episode for the Tinkrell. Next time we'll be starting the Helios faction. So that's something to look forward to for the next one. I will already give you the preview of their base design. This is the standard design for their first ship. A very, very curious design indeed. You'll see it in action next time around. And for this episode, I've been Spirit Battle Solo, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.